You know, bad guys won't ever trick me. I guess she's showing you she's a badass. Got a rap sheet as long as my dick. That's long. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, which I mean, not many people watch my channel, so who knows. I'm Ben, and this is my food channel where I make mukbangs, taste test videos, and food challenges. And today I am actually filming this video for the second time because it was completely out of focus the first time because I don't have a monitor to hook my camera up to see, and even in the viewfinder, it's a little far away from me, so I can't really see it that well, so I can't tell. So after I shot the whole thing and went to download it onto my computer, I was like, oh, everything is not in focus. There wasn't a single bit that was in focus, so this is round 2. But it's okay, and I'm actually really excited because I made all the food today. I usually order food, but today I made homemade garlic bread and homemade mac and cheese. Holy crap, this is so crazy. Do you hear this?
That's what good pussy sounds like.
I'm in a good mood today, and today is going to be another movie review. I get to talk about this movie for the second time, which I guess is okay because this movie is a sequel, and I had to watch it twice to be able to film this mukbang because the movie was so bad that I completely forgot everything about it. Yeah, so before we even get into the movie, as usual, I'm gonna go ahead and taste the fruits of my labor. Okay, so this is supposed to be macaroni and cheese, of course, homemade, but I didn't have elbow macaroni and cheese, and I was going to the store to pick up like everything I needed for it, and I kind of realized in the cupboard I had other pasta, so I was like, I'll just save money and use pasta that's not elbow mac and cheese. So this is ziti and cheese. This is so good and creamy, and I love the recipe had me add some Dijon mustard in it. It's good. Oh my goodness. Try some of this garlic bread, which I wish I would have bought a little bit more mozzarella for, but it's okay. Ah! I'm so happy. I was pretty upset because in the first time I filmed this, I actually ordered quite a bit of food with a gift card, and then of course everything was out of focus. But you know, I still got to eat good food. It just, you know, kind of went to waste video wise. You know, all your hard work, the setup, and everything. Okay, last bite, and we'll get into the story. Okay, so the movie that I'm talking about again is Car Road to Revenge. And if you're thinking car, but you don't know what the movie is, but you're guessing, yes, it is in fact about a killer car. And if you're wondering, you know, why I decided to watch this movie, this is because my friend wanted to watch a movie with me. And so we, you know, safely, social distancingly did it, you know, on Discord. And we're looking for horror movies to watch. I like watching bad horror movies. And they picked Car Road to Revenge, and oh boy. To quote my friend, this movie was so bad it made my stomach hurt. So if that doesn't like give you any... Anyway, if that doesn't give you any indicator of how this movie is gonna go, I don't know what to tell you. But it was rough. So basically, Car Road to Revenge is like a sequel, but it doesn't follow the storyline of the first movie of The Car, which was a movie done 42 years ago. And the movie, for being, you know, hokey about a killer car, wasn't actually hated. It actually had like a decent number of fans because I guess it did what it was well. And also basically the car ripped off of Jaws. So instead of a shark, it was, you know, a car. But this remake is just bad. A lot of people dislike it. I see why. And when I was originally, for the first take of filming this mukbang, going to like look up about the movie just to like refresh myself, because it had been a while since the movie and I didn't really remember too many things. Car Road to Revenge doesn't even have its own Wikipedia page, which was a red flag. But so then I had to sit down and watch the movie a second time, but this time on my own. So this is night before filming, then sort of fresh out the shower, about to watch this movie for the second time because I, for real, remember basically nothing specific about the plot that I would have wanted to talk about, just because I can only remember that it's bad. And that's about it. I remember like one or two other things, but this is really it. So I have to watch it for a second time on my own. Great. So yeah, basically the setting is a city. It's kind of in the future, cyberpunk, but don't let that fool you and make you think it's gonna look cool. It's bad, and the outfits are bad too. It opens with like a police chase as a police officer or a detective chasing down this bad guy in the city, and I guess he's following him in his car. He gets out, he apprehends him, and in the car there was a woman, I guess, human trafficking. So then we immediately skip to this trial where said evil guy is on trial, and there's like this big shot DA, and they find him guilty and they sentence him to death. And the way they sentence him to death isn't like really humane. It's like this tube comes down around him and he starts yelling as if he's in pain, and then he basically explodes. So I guess in the future, humane death sentences, for the death sentences we do have, out the window. And then he's in his office and he's got like this USB or this chip that he's trying to crack for like this big case or something. And he can't get it cracked, but he like tells his like second in command guy, you know, I'm gonna go to dinner, or he says he's got like a date with like a pretty little plaything, and I'm just like, ugh, disgusting. Disgusting! And so he goes to dinner with this pretty little plaything, and it turns out it's his ex that he's trying to get back, which like, ew, like he's in his office, like not even talking about her like she's a human, like subhuman, honestly. And then it's his ex that he's desperately trying to get back, and her name's Daria, I believe. It's just like a dinner and he's like trying to get her back, and she's like, why would I get back with you? You were so controlling, you were so stubborn, and blah 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 blah. And at one point she's having like this fight with him, and she literally calls him a dum-dum, and I was like, you're this grown-ass professional ass woman that he's trying to get back, you're trying to show him, tell him you don't need him, but you say, cause I'm not a dum-dum, I won't fall for your whatever. And I'm like, dum-dum? You could have just like said idiot, no one said you had to like swear or say anything super mean, but dum-dums. And then immediately within like the next second he says something and she like smiles and everything, and I was like, so which is it? Are you a dum-dum? And he's like driving her home, and we get to see the car for the first time. It's called the Lazarus. It's really fancy. And they're driving through part of the city that I guess isn't good. I guess it's considered bad, and it's called The Neighborhood, and he's like saying terrible shit about it. She's like, you know, people live here too. And she's like, and you know, I'm from here too, I grew up here. And he's like, basically kind of like, yeah, but who saved you from that and like made you what you are, gave you what you have. And she's basically not having his shit and like calls him out and is also like, hey, I'm not gonna sleep with you. And he gets like really angry and starts yelling at her, and he's like, men don't like an angry woman, Daria. And I'm just kind of like, you're disgusting. Like she can't be angry at you for being an asshole, but you're gonna get angry at her because she don't want to open her legs for you. Toxic. If you ever see that, run. You don't need that in your life. That's garbage. Garbage. Nothing needs that in their life. Maybe garbage for garbage, but no. So then he drops her off at her house, and before leaving, he decides to get weirdly passive aggressive, grabs her upper thigh, and is like not letting her get out of the car until he says his piece. And he's kind of like aggressively like, you're the only thing that makes sense in this shit world, and I'm not gonna stop until I have you. Which, you know, toxic, not cute. Like, if a guy says that but he's not angry, that's still creepy. So, and she gets out her car and she goes inside, and he decides to go back to be a workaholic. So now at this point we get to see some of the bad guys, and they need the little chipped USB thing that he has back. And so this underground thing called the Night is like, okay, we gotta get this chip back and probably kill Caddick. So they send like their best, like, I guess like top killers, assassins, I don't know, hitmen. And again, it's supposed to look cyberpunk, but these costumes, I remember me and my friend saw them and we were just kind of like, what are they wearing? So we've got Pink, like the singer. It's not actually her, but that's what it looks like. White Cyborg, Ozzy Osbourne, and some guy that looks like he really, 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 really loves Gerard Way and Brendan Urie, but specifically in the I Write Sins video. And that's our little group of killers. And so they bust into Caddick's office, and for being killers, it just wasn't convincing at all. Caddick, I wouldn't say he puts up like a great fight, but like more than I think that like 4 really professional hitmen would allow to happen. So Caddick doesn't give up the chipper information. They torture him, kill him, and they throw him out his window, and he falls, plummets to his death, and coincidentally lands on top of his car. What a opening, you know? What an opening start to this movie. It's just already not great. And just this gaggle of hitmen. Insane. Insanely bad, but also the guy who comes to like tell the hitman, hey, this is your job, he's dressed like a cowboy and got this like southern accent. It's really strange. This is so good. Okay, so Caddick's dead. And the person on the case is the detective we saw in the opening of the movie. His name is Rainer. And he walks onto the crime scene, and I get to see like the regular police officers. They're dinosaurs. No, I'm just kidding. Officers like outfits. And they look like, is it the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man or the Michelin guy? They're just in these ugly, puffy, gray things, and it's not a look. He walks in with like his detective buddy, and he's like, oh, they're like looking around, and they're like, yeah, it's definitely a professional hit. And I'm just like looking around like, how? Like the place just looks destroyed. There's nothing that makes it seem I don't know, whatever. And they're talking about it, and at one point they point out big feet in regards to like the white cyborg, I suppose. They don't know it's him yet, but so then there's the funeral of a caddick where we get Daria, and when she leaves, she's in the car with her friend, and it's just her friend's like, hey, you know, like don't be sad, or you know, you hated him. Well, not don't be sad, but like, you know, you hated him, and he was always controlling you and telling you what to do, like where, how to act. And Daria, I don't know what they were going for in this scene. They were trying to go for like this, you know, even in bad relationships, you sometimes still have attachments or like remember good times or maybe lessons you learned from them. But like, so we know Caddick's literally an asshole from the beginning, and then she's talking about him and it's just making him look like, you know, worse. But then she's like smiling, she's like, yeah, I hated him, but he taught me so much, like how to like stand up straight, like I don't know, say f you to people, I don't even know. And her friend's like laughing, like, haha, yeah, you've probably said that to me like 30 times this week. And I was just like, maybe if your friend's saying that to you so much, maybe it's not a good friendship. I don't know. I don't think I've had a friend even jokingly say that to me that many times in a week. And also just like whatever they're trying to do with her like grief, not grief thing just wasn't working. I was just kind of like, ugh. So the detective also realizes he needs to talk to Daria because that was the last person who spoke to him, and he's on the phone with her and he calls her, and she's literally, you know, just been back from the funeral, and she's just kind of like, you know, no, you didn't tell me anything specific, but also can like, if you're gonna do this like in-depth thing, can we just not do it right now? I just got back from the funeral, I'm going through a lot. And I have it written down because what he says is, well, lady, a man is dead, so why don't you try putting aside your personal feelings for a minute and answer my questions. So, you know, Daria hangs up, as she should, because like, what the f, I feel like detectives are supposed to have some sort of training in like when they're talking to like grieving individuals. That's just not how you talk to them. And like, I understand the kind of guy they're trying to make this detective, this very like gritty, like I don't even know, but it just was not working. He just came off as an asshole. But at the same time, the knight is also like, who is this girl Caddick was at dinner with? And so she goes on their target list, which is great. And now, you know, you're wondering, isn't this a movie about a car? Where's the car? It's coming, but in case you haven't noticed, there's going to be an issue with this being called Car Road to Revenge and it not as much being about a car. So, foreshadowing. So, the car is being impounded and it comes to life, basically, at the impound, and the guy who was like in charge of it, he's like, you know, it just turned on its own. So he steps in front of the car and is like, who's there, who's inside? And I'm like, I would never step in front of a car like that, especially when I think if there's someone behind the wheel, like I'm stepping to the side and being like, who's in there? And so as he's just standing there, walking a little bit closer, directly in front of the car that he thinks is running in on with somebody inside at night, the car just runs him over and, you know, leaves the lot. Then, I'm not sure of the exact order of events, I just know this is all in the beginning. We get tits, and me and my friend have guessed that a large budget of this movie went to tits, because there's this club, like this underground club, and it's got a bunch of girls, like, almost naked and whatnot, but like the amount of time they spend like showing you these girls to drive home the kind of place it is, it's just like the money went to tits. And our cyborg guy's there, and he leaves, and the car finds him and chases him down. He manages to hide and get away in some store he broke into, and the car crashes through the front like big window of the store and crushes him. Now, at the crime scene the next morning, when Rainer shows up, they're like, oh, another suicide, and I'm like, I don't know if it was supposed to be taken as a joke or not, but like if it was, it just completely either went over my head or wasn't like delivered correctly, which I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. And as his detective guy is talking about like who the victim is, I also wrote this down because this line, he's like talking about how like the cyborg guy has like a really long rap sheet, like he's just not a great guy, he's constantly getting in trouble, and he says, got a rap sheet as long as my dick. That's long. And I was literally sitting there and I was like, what? Okay, moving on. Then they're like, you know, Rainer, do you think there's any connection to your case, which is Caddick's case? And you're like, I don't know. But then the guys point out, and he goes, like, why'd you call me? And the other guy's like, big feet, as he's pointing at the cyborg guy. And I'm like, that's your connection? Big feet? Like, I feel like there shouldn't be a connection at all, but whatever. So then, you know, Daria's at her house and she has her friend over and they're drinking, they fall asleep. And the night is like, okay, time to come get Daria. And so Ozzy leads it. And let me tell you, when Daria gets home, so, she has like a security thing. So when she gets in, she like puts in a code after she gets in her house, which I get. But the screen for it's huge, which, okay, sure. But then when it shows the numbers on the screen, instead of being small, the numbers are like 1, 2, 3, like they're huge. Which also I'm like, okay, that them being fine being huge wouldn't be as big of a deal. Which, I mean, I still wouldn't want them that big. If her entire back wall behind, like, when the room that she comes in from wasn't glass. So the entire thing's glass, and the numbers thing for her, like, security thing is huge. So I'm thinking, okay, at least fucking stand inside it. No, she stands off to the side when she gets in and puts it in like this. So, like, Pink's out here from far away with binoculars just watching her put in the code, and I'm like, oh, could you made it any easier? Like, come on. I was just like, how fucking stupid. Like, if my whole back thing is glass, like, from the front door, that security thing, it's not gonna have giant numbers. And the numbers, even if they're small, I'm standing in front of the thing like this. Like, you know, and I'm wiping it down with Windex and shit so you can't see where my fingers, but, like, whatever, Daria, okay. But anyway, back to, like, she's had her friend over. So at night while they're sleeping, Ozzy and some of the grunts that they brought along sneak in. One of them kills Daria, who apparently doesn't know how to open a sliding glass door or a door in general. I don't know what the back door is, but she just can't open it and she dies. Ozzy gets to Daria, and Daria has a gun, manages to kill one of the grunts. Ozzy and his men, like, get out the room, and so she's in the room, they're out in the hallway, and she's like, she finally remembers, my friend is here. So she's Mila, that's her friend's name. She's like, Mila, are you okay? And Ozzy from the stairs, it's so funny, he goes, Mila's dead, bitch. Like, I definitely don't sound funny saying it doesn't sound funny, but, like, just watching the movie, it was just actually, like, funny. It was one of the few funny parts of this movie.
Mila is dead, bitch.
So she manages to escape the house, and she's running off into the woods. Ozzy's, like, chasing after her, and the car stops him. So the car kind of saves Daria. And so then Daria gets away, and at one point the car, she runs out onto the road, and the car is, like, coming. The car stops in front of her. And this is something they try and do throughout the whole movie with, like, the guy said it's because she grew up in the neighborhood, which wasn't the good part of the city. Is that, like, she's really tough and badass, and it doesn't work. She looks at the car, again, she's standing in front of a car that she thinks, you know, presumably has someone inside, and she's like, back the fuck up. I'm just like, it's a car. You think anybody's in the car is gonna listen to you? Like, you're not threatening. They could just run you over. The best you can do is jump to the side and hope. Like, okay. So, the car leaves her alone, and she gets away, and the car kills Ozzy Osbourne. So 2 of our little group of hitmen are dead, and only Pink and Gerard, Brendan Urie obsession guy is left. Rainer, you know, comes to the scene, and he's like, you have a place to stay, and I'm like, oh god, don't invite her to your place. No, at least they take her to a motel. And actually, I forgot one just random piece of before the killing of her friend and everything happened. I'll get to it in a minute. I've forgotten a little bit. It's been about a week since I filmed. Since I filmed this for the first time, and yeah, so like forgive me if at 1 or 2 points I go, oh wait, let me go back and just mention this real quick. Good amount of garlic on this. I'm so happy. I mean, of course I made it, but people don't like garlic. How? Like, life would be so bland without garlic and onions. So then, okay, taking it back a step. After he actually fails to interview her, he shows up at her workplace. Also, we don't actually know what Daria does. And he's like leaning against like this front desk, eating a bag of Cheetos, and she walks up. She's like, "Oh, let me guess, Mr. Insensitive Asshole." And he's like, you know, Rainer. And he puts out his hand with like Cheeto dust, and she just kind of looks at it. And it was so just like, I rolled my eyes so I could see what they were trying to do. It's kind of like the idea of like a car mechanic and like I guess like a lady from a higher tax bracket than them, kind of like love story kind of thing. He sticks out his hand with grease, and she's just kind of like, he does that, and I was just kind of like. But, like, the difference here is, like, Rainer's been an asshole, and then he's, like, he takes his hand back, and he just starts, like, licking them in front of her, and I'm like, that's fine to do in the comfort of your home and everything, but, like, what kind of impression are you making on her? Like, disgusting.
Disgusting!
And so she's like, oh, follow me, let's go to, like, a place to talk, and he just discards the bag of Cheetos onto, like, the front desk that some random woman's working at. I was just like, take them with you, throw them in the trash. I don't know, just don't be an asshole and throw them at on this woman's desk. The character they tried to make him, they just did it terribly. So then they go to this restaurant in the middle of the city that is presumably, you know, not in an Asian country, and it's like a Japanese restaurant. Like the outside buildings like done up kind of like really fancy, and inside all the workers are dressed as geishas, full makeup, hair, outfit, and I was just kind of like, what is the point? Like, it's not like Asian people or Japanese, like, history in any means is, like, important to this movie. It's not like they make a show of showing how diverse the city is. Like, it's just, like, this random super Japanese restaurant that they're at for, like, drinks that, like, Daria doesn't even, neither of them finish their drinks, so the conversation's so short. Like, she could have taken him outside and, like, sat in an alley and smoked a cigarette and, like, had this talk in the amount of time that they spend at this restaurant. Like, I don't know, I guess they're like, oh, gotta sprinkle our diversity in. She basically just tells him everything and then leaves because he's being an asshole. And then she goes home, has her friend over, friend gets killed, blah, blah, blah. We know the story. So then she wakes up in the motel, and he brings her food, and it's, like, he's like, this should get you through the day or so, and it's junk food. And she's like, I'm coming with you, and he's like, no you're not, and he like locks her in her motel room, which she gets out of by breaking the window with the chair. They don't decide to go to like the front desk and be like, hey, we broke that in an accident but we'll pay. They just leave, because she's like, if these night people are after me, I'm the one with everything to lose. And she basically manages to go with him, which I feel like is a big security breach, but whatever, you know, happens in movies all the time. It's just this one's even less convincing. She has a gun. He's like, yeah, but you're not gonna have this. And he puts it in the glove compartment. She's like, where are we going? He's like, the data market, which I guess is supposed to be super dangerous underground. She's like, oh, if we're going there, guess I'll need this. She just reaches back into the glove compartment, takes her gun back like that, and he just kind of like smiles and shakes his head like, oh, you. And I was like, have you no conviction to do anything? Like, where is this coming from? Like, a moment ago you were not coming, and then I guess she's showing you she's a badass. Like, at one point, literally before she gets in the car, he's like, just because you're from the neighborhood doesn't mean you're a badass. And she says something like, we'll see, or it does, or basically, yeah, she's a badass. Like, they don't really give us this whole she's a badass thing just really bothered me the whole movie. Like, yeah, we love female badasses, but this was not that. Believe me, it was not that. So they get to the data market, and they go inside, and they go to ask about the night. And I guess some of the night's people are there, and they start shooting it up. And then Pink arrives with some people, and while Rainer's out front fighting regular Gruntmen, Daria's in the back fighting Pink. She manages to catch Pink on fire. Pink survives, and Daria has like left the back, and she's like coughing because all the smoke and everything, because it has basically started a fire in this building. And the car shows up. It runs over Pink, and then it rolls down the window while like Daria's coughing because like all the smoke and inhalation. And she can see that there's no driver, and then it starts playing like a romance song at her, and she passes out. So then Daria wakes up and she's on the couch, and she's at Rainer's place. And she's like, oh no, did I pass out? That would be so lame. And I'm like, no, I mean, it would just make sense. There's a lot of smoke inhalation, and lame. I don't know, if you passed out, I wouldn't be worried that it's lame after, like, you know, a gunfight, surviving, you know, this hitman. Honestly, I feel like embarrassed is more the word you should be going for, but she was like, that'd be so lame, which I guess can be related to embarrassed, but I was just like, oh, okay, honey, are you a high schooler? You're worried about if it's lame or not? So they get into this talk, and out of nowhere, we get to see that Rainer has a daughter, or had a daughter that died, because she sees a picture, Daria sees a picture on like his wall or something, and he's like, yeah, I had a daughter, and good person, wrong place, or something like that. And it's never brought up again. It's not like a big moral thing for him. They don't, in no way does it add to like how he is as a character, like maybe being jaded or anything. No, it's just like this random, he had a daughter who died. So he brings up his like dead daughter, and Daria brings up how she was an alcoholic, but she got through it, and now when she's like really upset or stressed, she takes it out on like a punching bag. And I'm this entire time I'm thinking, please don't let this be the scene where y'all like decide you're in love and, you know, have sex. And so I'm like, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't. So then Rainer's like, oh, show me. And so she stands up, and I'm like, oh my god. And he's like, show me. And she like punches
No.
him once. What is this punch? What the? Don't ever punch like this. You'll break something if you punch like this. Please. Please. And follow through. Like, I know I'm no expert, but like I literally know, don't punch like this. What is it? What is this? Is this like chicken?
Look at all those chickens.
I'm out here limp wristing it.
Gay!
And Daria would laugh at me. Then again, she grew up in the neighborhood. And so then, of course, after, like, she punches him, they're, like, close together. And they start kissing, and I'm like, God! Like, you know, because I was just saying that, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't. Okay. You know? So then that starts happening, they get on the couch, and I'm like, okay, they're about to have their time. And so, like, it pans out the window and everything, and I'm like, oh my god, they literally did not like each other at all before. She was, like, disgusted by him in the beginning, thought he was an asshole, and did, like, this one night of bonding. And then it pans down, and the car is outside. Like, the killer car is outside, and, like, the lights turn on, and I'm like, oh my god, so now you're gonna tell me the car is gonna, like, try and kill him because it's mad that Rainer slept with Daria, even though, I mean, even if he's haunting this car, the car now, like, you can't get with her now, so. So the next day they get in a fight because she tries to tell him, hey, that car's haunted, there was no one inside, and he doesn't believe her. So she's like, I'm going on a walk, which, like, you know you're wanted. You know people want to kill you. Like, why would you leave? So then when he tries to go after her, the car tries to, like, kill him. And she accidentally gets tricked into going along with some people from the night, because the guy at the night is very angry. His name is Talon. He's the one who leads them, and he's kind of like, two of my best men are dead. Rainer manages to escape the car, but then he gets taken in, and he's like, what am I in here for? And his buddy's like, yeah, there are reports that you're the driver of the car. And he's like, you know, that's BS. I'm being framed. I'm being set up. And the entire time, Dario's getting taken away by the Knight, who is also in hot pursuit of the car. They've managed to find the car and they're chasing it down and failing miserably. Daria, for some reason, wasn't frisked well when she got taken by these guys in their, you know, faux police. Well, it was a police officer car, but they're not really police officers, or if they are, they're dirty. I don't remember. And she pulls out a gun, and then she gets them out on the street and has them, like, lay down. And then the car comes by and just runs over them, just kills them. So then it says Daria, and it decides to turn around. She gets in the police car. She starts booking it the opposite direction. Now, all of the people from the night have come and are in between the car and following Daria. So the car revs its little engine, and it starts going full speed at these other cars, and then it does parkour. And it just, boop, then like barrel rolls over and then lands and drives off. And as it's barrel rolling, it manages to hit some of the bad guys in the backs of these trucks with like their big guns and kill them. Takes off like their heads and stuff. Yeah, it did parkour. And me and my friend watching it were dead silent. And after some amount of time, what seemed like a full thick minute, one of us was like, so are we gonna talk about that? And we were just both like, no, we're not. We're not gonna talk about that. Like, we did not bring up this after the movie. We were just both like, this movie was so bad. But the car, like, did parkour. It flipped over all these cars. Like, it was at, like, a derby. But instead of, like, you know, having a ramp and going over it, it just full speed, stopped, flipped over. But anyway, so then Talon contacts Daria and makes like a deal with her, and they're like, leave the car here and we'll like spare you. And she's like, cool, you know, bad guys won't ever trick me. And so she leads the car there, and they're like beating it the up. And then they're like, wait, where's the driver? And she's like, there's never been a driver. And they're like, she tricked us, because they're not gonna believe there's no driver. So then they're like, okay, we're gonna go kill her too. And she's like, what, you promised? And I'm just like, why would you believe bad guys? So while they're destroying the car, they manage to get the chip. So then the car gets taken to like a junkyard where Daria's chained up, and Talon's talking to her like, I want the real Daria. And basically wants like the Daria from the neighborhood. And Rainer finds out that Caddick's like second in command guy, assistant, I don't even know, is working with the Knight, and he manages to beat the heck out of him and some guards and get away to go find Daria, because he knows that they're keeping Daria via like an underground club is like how you get to like their hideout. And the car gets found by a mechanic, which takes it into his shop. Now, the mechanic's actually played by someone who I believe played the sheriff in the original movie, and he puts the car back together by giving it a donor body, and the donor body is actually the original car. Now again, I don't believe these are in the same like timeline, but it was still like a nod to the original, which I thought was nice, even though I've never seen the original. And of course I didn't know about this until I looked up the car, the original, afterwards. And so then the car comes to life, and the old guy's like staring at it like, oh, what the heck? And I'm like, oh, please don't. I was actually saying it a lot. I was like, this guy fixed you. Like, don't kill him. But it kills him. It runs him over. And even if you hit someone this hard, I feel like the car couldn't have been going that fast when it hit him. Like, fast enough to do damage, yeah, or kill him, sure. But when the old man landed, like, his whole chest was, like, busted out with his, like, organs hanging out, as if, like, an alien chest burster had just come through him. And I was like, there's no way, you know? So whatever, so, you know, the car's alive. Now, Rainer heads to the underground club, which he finds by literally going home, opening his laptop, and typing in underground club. Like, it was that easy. And so he goes to the club, and of course we get to see more tits, you know, on the budget. That's where it went. And the car also arrives. And both the Rainer and the car go down through the secret entrance to, the night. And Talon's also decided to take in Daria as one of their own, I guess, because she told a story about how much at one point she hated, like, the rich people she was around and stuff. All that anger. So, Talon has brought him, his name's Yasha, I remember. Yasha, which was Caddick's second-hand guy. And they're gonna let Daria kill him. And instead, she stabs Talon in the eye, who then he's like, you know, go after her. And instead of like screaming and yelling in pain when he's like taking the scalpel out of his eye, you know, pulling out his eye in the process, he just pulled it out casually and then's like holding his eyeball, it's just now hanging out of his eye socket, like, go after her. And I was like, does the man not feel pain? He's just, okay. So she manages to kill the Brendan Urie wannabe. It still kills me. And then, after she kills him, she runs into Rainer. And then Talon shows up with a gun. Except for now, he has both eyes again somehow. I don't know, he has both eyes. But then the car shows up and kills Talon. Like, nothing really happened with Talon, minus, like, they kind of, like, antagonized our main character. Like, I don't know. Just bad. You know, pointless. Like, we could have just made it about a car being terrible. So then, as they're running away, Daria starts to turn back, and Rainer's like, what? She's like, we're gonna put an end to this once and for all. And how they're gonna do it is they luckily find some dynamite, and they're like, we're gonna load the car and then blow it up. So they do that, and they manage to blow the car up, and, you know, ambulances have finally come and everything, and Daria's on a stretcher, and Rainer's like, you know, I don't know if I have a job after this, or if I'll be in prison, but if I'm not, can I get a date? And she's like, yeah, you can get a date. She didn't do it like that, but, you know, at this point I'm just done with this whole romance thing. Like, so forced out of nowhere and so predictable at the same time. And so they're, like, having their moment, and he, like, leans down to kiss her, and then the car comes out the smoke, and everybody's screaming, like, you know, oh my god. So Daria jumps off the stretcher, but manages to get kidnapped by the car. And so it's driving away, and she's just kind of like, leave me alone, blah, 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 blah. Like, let me go. Why are you like this? Like, you're dead. And it starts playing a romance song at her. And so she decides she's going to rip out the CPU of the car. And she does, just in time, because it was literally headed straight off a cliff into, like, a very large lake. And so then she gets out, and she pushes the car into the lake. And that's the end of the movie, and just before everything goes black, it shows or maybe there were a few credits rolling, I don't even remember, but basically just for the end, you see the car underwater at the bottom of the lake, and then the lights turn on. And that's the official end of the movie. That is the end of Car Road to Revenge. It was bad, guys. And luckily for me, I at least the first time through, even though it was bad, I wasn't, like, terribly, like, gritting my teeth getting through it. Now, my friend, on the other hand, I could tell definitely in the beginning of the movie just was not having a good time. Because basically, I took the bar and I was like, we're gonna watch a movie about a killer car. My bar was on the floor. My friend, on the other hand, did not set the bar low enough, so when the movie came in well beneath this, my friend had a very painful time, at least in the beginning. Like, I remember I was just waiting for my friend to be like, you want to watch something else, but they never did. But yeah, It's not a good movie. I definitely didn't do it justice in explaining it to you guys, just because it is my second time at telling this story. So I feel like a lot of that original zest in telling it's gone. It's very hard to sit down and try and, you know, recreate it. It's hard to get something as authentic as that first take, you know. That was Car Road to Revenge. If you definitely want to watch a bad movie, that's the one, because they went for broke on it. The worst part is, I feel like they were actually seriously trying to make, you know, like, the fact that it's a Killer Car side, I think they were trying to make, like, a good movie. Like, it wasn't something that, like, was very self-aware and just decided to be super bad on purpose. Like, I actually think they were trying to make a good sequel car movie, which is what made this so much worse, which how bad it was. But that's the movie, and this one has been the mukbang. If you've watched to the very end, thank you for making it this far. I really appreciate it, and until the next video, bye.